This you guys are with me for COM1108 public speaking class. Now, before we sort of like start with our class, I firstly need to, tell you guys something. Is it okay? It's not okay. Right. So apparently our class COM1108 had a lot of difficulties. We were challenged physically and mentally. So in the first week, we don't have any classes because the first one we had a public holiday on Thursday, and then because of a bit of confusion with our timetable, we cannot have our class. We are challenged, guys. So I don't know for some reason. And then last Monday we're supposed to have a class, but because it's Independence Day, hence it's a public holiday. So there you have it. We have so many public holidays. I know. Welcome to Malaysia. Right. So basically, in order for you to get your attendance taken, in order for you to get to your attendance taken for Monday's class, what I need you guys to do is number one is to watch this video, which apparently you guys are doing right now. And number two is to complete a Blackboard task. Now, at the end of this lesson, I shall be briefing you guys. I shall be telling you guys how and what to do with the online task. So please do stay tuned for it. Once you have completed both tasks, then only I will consider you as attended the class. Okay? Now, the topic that I will be talking about today is outlining and organizing your speech. Before we move into that, I would like to firstly again mention on a couple things that you guys have to complete this semester. Now, what's very important is that for your test 1 and test 2, it will be done Wednesday in week 6 and also week 11. Now please make sure that you don't have anything else, but if you have, if according to Inti's schedule you're not supposed to have anything at 4 to 6 p.m, um, and we have booked you in the beginning of the semester, so please do inform me if you have any trouble with your internet. Now the important thing about these two tests is that all of the other sections will be joining us as well, so it will be simultaneously, it will be held at the same time. So make sure that you guys have a good internet connection, because all of the questions and all of the tests will be done via Blackboard itself. All right, so please make sure that you guys book your slot, or make sure that you are available on these 2 days. Make sure that you guys are available. Make sure that you guys have a laptop, because the questions will be asked in Blackboard, and I'm just afraid because of a few setting. Okay, so the question will not be available if you're using your phone. Please only use your laptop. All right. Both tests are 15% each, hence it's 30%. And then most importantly, what I want to touch on today as well is regarding your presentation one. Now your presentation one, the first one will due next week. Now, what's wonderful about presentation one and two is that both are recorded, so you guys don't have to, have a live session with it. And to be honest, according to research, this lowers your anxiety a little bit, because you are working at your own time and pace. Hence, you are less likely to be very anxious and stuff like that. So it's good. Now, a lot of you guys have uploaded your three possible topics on Blackboard. So I have replied to your topics and commented and give feedback on your topics. Please take into consideration when you are deciding your finalized topic. Now, you don't have to email me, you don't have to tell me what your final topic is, but you can start working on your speech, develop your speech. Make sure that it has organization, because that is something that what we're going to touch about in today's class as well. Make sure that before you decide on, the whole thing, or you before you start recording your speech, make sure that your speech itself is organized. Now in our class tomorrow, I shall be talking about, I shall be discussing and I shall be sharing with you guys how I am going to mark your presentation, and what are the things that I'm expecting to see when you guys are presenting. I shall also be showing you guys So I will be showing you guys some examples and samples from your seniors so that you guys know what you are expected to do for your presentation one. Okay, so next tomorrow as well, I shall be sharing with you guys a Google Drive link where you guys can upload your presentation one. Okay, all right. So I think that is enough for all of these. So the rest I have basically mentioned about it, and I really want to focus more onto your first presentation because it's going to be your first assessment, and I want everyone here to do well in it. All right. So let's move forward and talk about organizing and outlining your speech. All right. Now, at the end of today's class, I'm hoping that you guys will be able to organize and outline a speech or even plan a speech once you have finalized your topic. So the reason why it's very, very super important for you to organize a speech, because according to research article, according to studies, they mention that when people or when the audience are listening to your speech or presentation, what is the most important thing that they look at was actually organization, because the main goal of doing a speech is basically to make sure that your message get across. And one of the important aspects and element of organizing a speech was due to the reason that you want your audience to be able to understand and to be able to see the flow of your ideas so that they would have something in their mind, and then they can picture it, and then they can have this mental image that they can understand and visualize in their head in order for them to internalize whatever message that you guys have decided to do on, or whatever topic that you guys have agreed on to do with your presentation. Now, when you're doing a presentation, there are three different parts that you have to complete and you have to do. Now, if any of these parts are not available in your speech, marks will be deducted. Now, this one I'm talking in a context of your assessments. Okay, so in your presentation one, two, and three, if you do not have introduction, if you don't have body paragraphs, or if you don't have conclusion, marks will be deducted. Now, tomorrow I'm going to show you a bit more like a sample on how to do it. But in today's class, we are looking at the theory based one, the theory approach to all of these things. Okay, so remember, when doing a speech, you need to organize your points and organize your paragraph, organize your speech, and make sure that you have these three different parts. You need to have introduction, you need to have body paragraphs or body speech, and lastly, you need to have a concluding or conclusion. So we have this term that we call as strategic organization. What is a strategic organization? It's basically when you putting a speech together in a very particular way. And the main objective of strategic organization is for you to achieve your mission. Okay, you have a certain mission that you want to do, and most importantly, it's directed towards a particular set of audience. Now, if we remember what we learned from last week, we talk about audience analysis. Am I right? So when you have audience analysis, you would be able to understand in a particular group of people who come from different backgrounds, different demographics, different age range, yada yada. So different people of your demography, sorry, different people of your audience would perceive differently. And it's always important for you to apply this strategic organization. Now, let me give you an example, which I think was very evident, and I have talked about this before. Now, even if you have a similar topic, okay, for example, you want to, you want to share on how to have a good hygiene. Okay, for instance, you want to share how to keep a good hygiene among people. Now, obviously, from different group of people or different audience, you would do the approach very differently. So if you were to do that speech in front of a, like a primary school kids, like children, it will be completely different with your approach with perhaps a high school students, or even someone or people who are slightly older, like parents, or even older, yeah, your grandparents age. So all of these would differ very, very greatly. And this is something also would be applied using the term strategic organization. All right. Now, in today's speech, in today's class, sorry, I shall be focusing mainly on body, focusing on how to organize your points in your body, the body of your speech. Okay, now the reason why I think that body has a lot of information and is very, very important is because it will take the largest amount of time of your whole speech. All right, and in our future class we shall be talking about how to open a speech and how to include your audience in your speech, which is very, very important when you want to start recording for your presentation. Okay. Now, as I mentioned just now, the reason why I need to focus and I need to introduce you guys to organize your body paragraphs or your body speech first is because when referring to the speech, the body speech, it is the longest and the most important part of your speech. Okay, this is when you want to include all of your evidence, you want to include all of your information that you have gathered, and it is the most important part. Now, usually when doing a speech or when preparing for a speech, you would eventually prepare and think about the main points first. Now, that is also one burden of proof that why body speech or body paragraphs are important as well. Now, it is also easier for you to create your introduction once you know what are the things that you want to talk about in your body paragraphs, because you want to make sure that all of the things are linked well together. Now, the process of organizing body of speech begins when you eventually know what are the main points that you want to talk about. Okay, so once you have decided on your topic, you need to know the central idea. Okay, the central idea is basically a one sentence that summarizes all three main body paragraphs or all three main points. So once you would be able to know the main points, then only you will be able to organize your body paragraph. Let's talk about your main points. Now, main points are developed from your body speech. That's very, very obvious. And when it comes to speeches, normally people can have between 2 to 5 main body paragraphs or 2 to 5 main body points. Now, with 2 to 5, obviously it depends on how much time will you allocate it to do the speech. It greatly varies according to the time, but the most optimum and the best number of main points that you can have in your speech would be 3 points. That is the best number. Okay. However, sometimes it depends on your speed of speech as well. Slow down. Yeah. So it all depends on a lot of factors, but it would be very, very nice if you can have 2 to 5. Okay. And what's also very important is that you should select your main body points very, very carefully and arrange them very, very strategically. Now, a lot of people think that the more points that you have, the better it is, but it is not that case in speech, because sometimes you need a little bit more supporting details. You need to provide a little bit more examples and visual information to emphasize on your points. So, more does not mean better in this case. Let me give you some examples. Now, here I want to show you an example of specific purpose, central idea, and also some main points. Now, this is basically the process of going on how you want to organize, or basically the steps that you have to take when you want to do a speech. Okay, now before that, let me drink some water. Sorry. Okay, now if you remember, we learned last week that there are only two types of general purposes. Am I right? Do you recall? Can you remember? So when we talk about general purpose, there are two things or two general purposes. The first one will be to inform, and the second one will be to persuade. Okay, it's either to inform or to persuade. Only two. Now, from general purpose, moving or creating now to specific purpose, you have to remember one of the important elements of specific purpose is to address your audience. So have a look at here. General purpose for this would be to inform. The specific purpose is to inform my audience about some of the major uses of hypnosis. All right. So here you see it's specific in a sense that it's addressing back again on your audience, and what is the topic is going to be the uses of hypnosis. Now let's go into, once you have gotten or once you have finalized your specific purpose, now you want to go to your central idea. Now have a look at this central idea here. There are three major uses of hypnosis today, which are to control pain in surgery, to help people stop smoking, and to help students improve their academic performance. Now, as I mentioned just now, central idea works like thesis statement in your essay. It's a one single sentence that summarizes, okay, one single sentence that summarizes 3 points from your body paragraphs. So from your central idea, you can basically extract your central idea to divide into three main points. So here, the first main point that you can get from your central idea is that hypnosis is used in surgery as an adjunct or a replacement for a chemical anesthesia. Okay. Number two, hypnosis is used to help people to stop smoking. Okay, here, the second point here. And lastly, the third point, hypnosis is used to help students to improve their academic performance. So what I'm showing you guys now is that how do you derive your three main points from your central idea. Remember, central idea is only one single sentence, and the role of central idea is to summarize all of the 3 points into one single sentence. Okay. Now let's have a look at some examples. Now we have specific purpose here to inform my audience about the development, technology, and benefits of hydrogen fuel cells. So here, the specific purpose, the general purpose will be to inform. Specific purpose to inform my audience about the development, technology, and benefits of hydrogen fuel cell. Now have a look at the central idea. Developed as a highly efficient form of energy, hydrogen fuel cells use sophisticated technology and offer a number of economic and environmental benefits. So the main points could be hydrogen fuel were developed to provide a highly efficient form of energy. Hydrogen fuel cells produce power through an electrochemical reaction involving hydrogen gas, and hydrogen fuel cell provide an economically and environmentally superior method of powering motor vehicles. Okay, so let me now, I want to show you guys a sample on persuasive. Okay, because there are two types of speeches. You can persuade or you want to inform. Now, we've been showing you guys some examples and samples on informative speech. But now, let's have a look at persuasive speech now. So, the general purpose here obviously is to persuade. Specific purpose to persuade my audience that our state should not approve proposals for online voting. Okay, now the central idea, our state should not approve online voting because it will increase voter fraud and disfranchise people without internet access. Now, here from the central idea, let me ask you, how many points can you detect? Exactly, there are only 2 points over here. Now, as I mentioned, the number of main body paragraph really varies according to how much time you will allocate it to do the speech. And one more thing, how deep is it that you want to explain about one single point itself? Because even with the same amount of time, but if you want to go into deeper of each one of the main body points, it's also possible that you only have 2 points. Okay, so from the central idea, what you can extract from it are these two main points. The first one, our state should not approve online voting because it will increase voter fraud. Now people will, theft identity. They're gonna steal someone else's identity and claim that they are Malaysian and they deserve to, vote, and yada yada. A lot more problem that might occur because of online voting. And secondly, our state should not approve online voting because it will disfranchise people without the access of the internet. So you're not actually giving justice to everybody who perhaps do not have the technology or do not have the access to the internet. So it will be very unfair for these people. And these people have the right to vote. Okay? All right, so this is also an example of how do you organize your speech. All right. Now, all of these might happen at the stage of your draft. Okay, so when you're thinking, now a lot of you guys have given me very wonderful 3 points, and now you have decided, oh, I want to do this one. So once you have decided on your topic, you might want to write these down, like what is your specific purpose, what is your central idea, and what are your main points. By doing this, it will help you to make sure that your points are a bit more clear and a bit more organized. That then you would know, these are my point. These are the things that I should be talking about. All right. So let me talk to you about the number of main points. So obviously, just now I mentioned that 2 to 5, it's good. So minimum is 2 points, because if you go only with 1 point, it seems that you are not doing a good research. It seems that you are, it's not good enough if you only have one thing. Okay, and the more, as I mentioned, the more could not necessarily be better, because people would need more time to digest all of your main points as well. Okay, as I mentioned, usually people will only go for 2 to 3 main points in one single speech itself. Now, remember, in your first presentation, you only have 1 to 3 minutes. So, 1 to 3 minutes, think about how many minutes that you want to allocate for your introduction, how many minutes that you want to allocate for your body paragraphs or body speech, and how many minutes that you want to do for your conclusion. Okay, so if there are too many points, however, if there are too many points, you can condense them into different categories. Okay, so I shall be talking about trying to make them into subcategory. This is the type of organization that we call as topical organization. We're going to talk about topical organization and other 4 types of organizations in a bit. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, research studies confirmed to us that clear organization is super, super important when becoming a good public speaker. The reason why this is a good habit for public speaker is because your audience would be able to follow through all of the flow of your ideas in your speech from the beginning until the end. So they will know, this is the first point, this is the second point, this is the third point. So it's always good to make sure that your points, your speech are organized. Now, once you have decided on your main points, now you need to decide which one will have to go first. Now, for me personally, always go for the strongest point first, because you wouldn't know if you have the time to do the second one. So if you don't have the time to complete the second or the third point, at least, okay, at least you have mentioned all of your strong points. Okay, so there are 5 different patterns, 5 different categories, 5 different ways, 5 different orders of all outlining your body points. Now, the first one is something that we call as chronological order. Second is spatial. Third is causal. Fourth is problem solution order. And fifth one is topical order. Now let's move into the first one. So in chronological order, so when it comes to chronological order, it basically means that the speech or the topic that you guys are choosing needs to deal with a bit of time or process. Okay, so there is the first step, second step, third step, or firstly, secondly, thirdly. Okay, there is an order of time going on in your speech. Now, if that is the case, if that is the topic that you guys decided, always go for a chronological order. For example, you want to teach your audience on how to make dalgona coffee. Okay, so you might want to use chronological order. Now, when it comes to chronological order, here you narrate the events or the process in a sequence of when it happened. Okay, so it's dealing with speeches that are based on process or demonstrating on how to do something. Okay, so normally for chronological order, people will use informative speech. All right. Secondly, we have spatial order. Now, what does it mean by spatial? Spatial means places, okay? All right, directions. So, basically, when you want to use spatial order, it is trying to explain according to direction or according to places. Now, let me give you an example here. What are the things that I have now? Okay, so here, let me try and explain this. Can you guys hear me? So basically, for example, I have this Apple Pencil here. All right. So I have this Apple Pencil um, box over here. So basically, when doing or if you want to choose spatial order, if you want to choose spatial order, it's basically explaining or dealing with speech that goes from top to bottom or left to right or front to back. So you explain your speech according to different space that you have decided to use it. So you can say, for example, you want to explain about the functions of Apple Pencil here. Okay, so here you want to explain about the functions of Apple Pencil. So you go from top to bottom. So you go and explain about the tip of this Apple Pencil, say how it is something that you guys can pull and you can replace this tip, or and then talk about the grip, or you can talk about the color over here, and then you can talk about the different functions and even how to charge your Apple Pencil over here. So spatial order is when you deal with direction patterns. Okay, so you want to explain from top to bottom, left to right, west to east, or any kind of either alternatives or any kind of directions, basically. So normally spatial order would be in a lot of informative speech. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this back. Now, the next one is what we have a causal order. Now, causal order is basically showing cause and effect relationship, causes and effects. Okay, so remember there are two things here, causes and effects. These two things are absolutely different. But, okay, but the way that you want to decide if whether or not you want to talk about causes first, then you want to talk about effects, or the other way around, you want to talk about effects first, then you talk about causes, it all depends on you as a speaker. Which one you want to show first? You want to show causes or you want to show effects first? It all depends on your own your own decision as a speaker. Right. So causal order can be used for both informative speech and also persuasive speech. Okay. The fourth one is what we call as problem solution order. Now, similar to cause and effect just now or causal order, problem solution order have two things as well. The first one will be dealing with the problems, okay, explaining about how did the problem happen and how does it exist in the first place. And the second part will be trying to present the solution to the problem. Okay. Now, because of the nature of it, obviously problem solution order is only used for persuasive speech. Okay. And lastly, we have topical order. Now, just now I talked to you about subcategories and stuff. Now, that is something that we call as topical. Now, topical is when you divide the topic into different subtopics or different categories. Okay. Now, this is the most famous and the easiest one that a lot of people will eventually choose, and it's applicable to any kind of subject, any kind of topics, which is why it is always the go-to type of order. Okay, so topical order is normally mostly used in a lot of in as compared to any other types of speeches. Okay. Right, so here are some tips for you to prepare for your main points. The first one is to make sure that your main points are kept separate. And number two, please use the same pattern of words for the main points. And number three, please do balance the amount of time devoted for the main points. So if you have 2 points, okay, so if you have 2 points, if you were to explain on your first point within 2 minutes, you must make sure that your second point that you guys want to explain on has to be 2 minutes as well. It needs to be almost equal time screen, or almost the balance of the two times. Okay. All right, so this could be some example. Okay, so this could be some example depending on how much you guys want to talk about and how much information that you want to put into your main points. Okay, sometimes it could be, sometimes you would need three supporting details or three evidence, three explanation for you to explain and to prove on the first or to prove on the main point. But sometimes you can try and do two as well. Okay, but never only explain one time. Okay, you need three or two to three supporting ideas to help people to understand your main point. Do not just only give one example, one sample in each point. Okay. All right, I think we are almost done with organizing and outlining. Okay, so what I want you guys to do now is, because tomorrow we are going to have the practice, remember? So in tomorrow's class, what we're going to do is that I am going to call your name in random. Okay, so I'm going to call your name in random, and then we're going to have you guys to present for us. By all means, you have to open your webcam and then share your face with a lot of people. So this is a very, very good learning experience. I give you guys around 1 week to prepare, so you don't have to be scared, you don't have to be anxious about it. Everybody's learning, so don't worry about it. So during your presentation, I shall be taking note, I shall be providing your feedback, I can tell you what to improve on, yada yada, blah blah blah. Okay, so the task for you to do tomorrow is for you to choose one topic. It could be a movie that changed you. You can talk about a movie that changed you, or you can talk about a book that changed you, or you can talk about a country that changed you. Now, from the topic that you guys have chosen for tomorrow's class, what I need you guys to do now is for you to create a table like this. So, the topic will be a movie that changed me. The general purpose, what is it? Do you want to inform or do you want to persuade people? Specific purpose to inform my audience on blah, 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 blah. And what are your three main points? Okay, let me show you an example. Okay, so I have chosen a movie that changed me. The general purpose of for my speech is to inform. The specific purpose to inform my audience about a movie called The Blind Side that changed my life because the actors, the plot, and also the moral values. So under the point actors, okay, so these are my main points. I say that there are A-list actors like Sandra Bullock and Lily Collins. It also introduced a new actor called Quinton Aaron that is the central character of the whole movie. Now, the second reason why I think the movie changed me is because of the plot itself. So the plot is very changing to me because it's adapted from a real life story. So it makes me realize and it makes me reflect a little bit more on what I have in my life. And I really like it because I think that the story has a very smooth plot. Now, thirdly, the reason why the movie changed me because it has so much moral values that revolves around equality and social justice. It also deals with a lot of prejudices and stereotypes of people for the black community. So that is why I feel like the movie has changed me very, very much. Okay, so this is an example. Obviously you guys don't have to follow me. So this kind of organization is something that we call as topical. Okay, so you guys decide if you want to do chronological, if you guys want to do causal, blah blah blah. Okay, you guys decide on it. Okay, so please complete these two, watch this recording and do this, then only I'm gonna take your attendance, or I'm gonna get your attendance as taken. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, some of you guys have uploaded three of your possible topics. Now I need you guys to try and proceed to do your draft. Okay. So your draft would include, make sure that you have introduction, body paragraphs, and also conclusion. In our class tomorrow, I shall be showing you some samples and examples taken from your seniors and how I want you guys to do it. So a bit more details on your presentation one tomorrow. Okay. But if you want to, and if you have done and prepared, you can show me your speech draft before you start recording for your presentation next week. Okay. So basically, for your presentation one, you can talk about literally anything within 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, for tomorrow's class, as I mentioned, for tomorrow's class, not Friday, tomorrow, Thursday, please do prepare a short speech. It could be about a book, it could be about a movie, it could be about a country that changed your life. Pick only one. You can talk up until 3 minutes, 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, so from all of the presentation or all of the presenters that will be picked in random tomorrow, I shall be looking for the best presenter, and that best presenter will be getting a very special prize for me. It's not big, but it's something for me. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I really, really look forward for your practice presentation tomorrow. So please do prepare for that. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Bye bye.